Hey guys, TacticalDoodle with another weird gear review. This time I'm going to be tackling clothes. So buckle in if you're into that, if you like leather jackets. Hopefully by now you've seen my gifts video and where I kind of talk about, heirloom quality stuff, blah blah blah. Hate repeating myself like that. Go ahead and watch that. If you haven't, you'll kind of get my idea for it. I love leather stuff like this because you buy it once when you're young, and as long as you don't get too misshapen over time, you'll at least be able to use that forever and ever. At least that's the idea. I love the old ones, but honestly, a lot of those old jackets, they start to kind of get out of your price, and stuff like the old Sears ones you can get for fairly cheap. Shot, what are the other ones? There are a bunch of different old leather brands that some are great, some are less great. Vansons are a big one. They're kind of more of a biker gear thing now. You can get a lot of different stuff like that. I've looked around, I've kind of kept my eye on a couple things because now's the time of my life where I'm trying to get all these cool, useful, heirloom quality things that I can kind of grow with. I like the idea of buying freaking a jacket and then I don't have to buy another jacket for a couple of years, maybe even a decade if I can stretch it out. That's ideal to me. And I love these ones. I'll talk a little bit about my POU here in just a sec. But other brands, before I forget, Fidelity Leather, they were a small brand in Boston, I think. They used to make leathers for the PD, if my sources are correct. They're pretty good, and right now they're still kind of under the radar on what people are willing to pay for them. I see most of them go kind of for like 100 to 150. That brown one I was wearing in one of the heirloom vids, that's a Fidelity. I love that one. I love the Cafe Racer cuts of them. That's got really nice supple leather, and it's just a beautiful jacket. It does have a definite bad smell to it though, which means I can't wear it all that often, but I still do sometimes. Walking into a packed room of 300 people in class, not really my thing to smell like that weird old guy, so I tend to have to kind of mix stuff up. Keep in mind who I am. I'm a young guy, I'm a student, I'm at school all the time. I like having some options in my gear that I use every day. You'll see a couple of these things. I do tend to rotate my stuff too. That's kind of why I'm able to do this. Stuff like this jacket I've actually bought and sold a couple times, and that's what I really like about the high-end ones. They hold enough value to the point where it's not as big a gamble as it would be for something that no one ever wants. Let's say you were to go out and buy just like some no-name jacket or something like that, you spend 200 bucks on it, you're kind of stuck with that cost, whereas you can probably eat the same difference on it because this jacket is pretty dang expensive, and you can maybe get half that back on the used market. It's a little bit of an investment in some ways, especially when you consider some of the other characteristics of it. This one I actually decided on after a long time of reading different stuff. I tried to find good, reliable crash data on it. No one really shares that. If you've been down in this, let us know about it in the comments. I would love to know. Of course, I really only check my comments for the first week after the post, and then it's on to the next vid, because there's just too much to read. Anyways, this is the Roland Sands Ronin. This is kind of, right now, their flagship jacket. This is one of those ones that's always topping out lists. Everyone's talking about it, loving it. I actually noticed it right when it came out because I've been on the lookout for a good replacement, more of a life jacket and less of a motorcycle jacket, but I love stuff that does both. For me, as a commuter, as someone who uses their bike as transportation every day, I love being able to kind of go under the radar, and I love wearing leather jackets anyways. I would always wear them, even if I'm not on a bike. But it's an added plus to be able to have something that does have a little bit of armor in it, that is abrasion resistant at the very least, that I can kind of walk around class as long as I don't have a helmet bag on me. You can't even tell that I rode a bike. That's kind of my style. I do have some more overt jackets that you've seen, some other ones I've had for a while and sold, like the white Icon you saw in the project last year. I pitched that, I think. I kind of have this addiction to kind of swapping stuff out. If I don't really love it, then it gets pitched. I don't care if I'll eat maybe, 10, 20 bucks on it. As long as I'm pretty close to breaking even, I'm going to keep hunting until I find something that I really do like. This Ronin is something that I do like. And I'll give you one little word of advice. It is freakishly expensive for what it is when it's new. MSRP, I'm thinking, is like 600 or so. You can find it for about $590 with different kind of points incentives and stuff. You can kind of get like maybe 10 bucks of credit off of someone. It is money. I do recommend getting them on the used market. This one I actually had through the revolving door at first. Not really planning on keeping it. I got this one used. I want to say the upper end of 200, maybe approaching 3, around there. They tend to hold their value fairly well right now, mostly because of all the good press they're getting. There's all kinds of, bike magazines and Ride Apart, they do endorse it all the time. Love those guys, by the way. Hey. They do a lot of cool stuff with it. It's an awesome, awesome piece of leather. It's a fair biking jacket. To me, it is more of a lifestyle one. It's something that I wear all the time. It has all these different utility pockets on it. That's what really convinced me to keep it in my stable for just pretty much ever. And it even convinced me to go out and buy another one. This is another used one. I just was waiting around for it. I think between the two of these, I probably did end up spending about as much as a new jacket. That's over the course of a couple months, so not as big of a deal. If you were to just buy one, make sure you really love it, because 600 bucks for a jacket is a lot. Especially this, it is made in India. That's kind of a letdown, and the workmanship, from what I hear, is kind of changing. There were rumors that they kind of got a deal with dealerships now. I think they're going to be in Harley areas. And as they're doing that, they may end up changing the fit and the cut of this to be less like normal and more really boxy in the torso and kind of, you know, just like the Harley rider physique, I guess they're looking for. That's uncool. One thing I'm confused about is in all the journalist pictures, they always show you some cute little tag with a limited edition thing. Never seen them. I have 3 examples here. None of these have it, at least not to my knowledge, unless it's like hidden somewhere, kind of like Icon does the St. Christopher thing and they jam it in the pocket somewhere. I don't know. Something like that. It has to be, you know, present, or maybe not. I don't know. The best way I've found is they have a little tag in here that'll show you where or kind of when it was made. I don't know. It's really kind of unprofessional looking. This one's fairly low. I'd probably rather not say. This one was made in November of 11. This one I think was made in October of 2012, something like that. Yep, this one's October 2012. This one is one of the more kind of funky colors you won't see very often of it. I think this is smoke or almond or something. These ones are actually clearance. This one's suspect. This is something that he actually loves so much from watching mine. You know how he is. He's looking at getting into bikes and all that naturally, because who doesn't? This one's maybe May of 2010. That'd be kind of weird. Anyways, they're awesome. This one I think was like $250 new. As you can see, he's kind of been breaking it in on his own. I'll throw some insert shots in so you can see what they look like as you're breaking them in. The thing that they say about them breaking into each wear, very true. Also kind of bizarre for this black one, as you see here, this ring here is like grayish, and I'm not sure, because right here it seems kind of lighter. This panel's a little bit lighter. It's got some streaks in it. The leather itself feels awesome. Whatever hand wax, dyed process they do feels fantastic. It doesn't feel oily or wet. It's that perfect kind of transition of dry and not kind of moist. You know, you'll have some of those leathers that are tacky and oily from all the conditioners they put into it, and it rubs off on stuff. It has too much of a smell. This is a very dry but supple leather. It's a fantastic quality. The cuts they use on them are really awesome. They do play up the whole, you know, differential aging thing. I don't care so much about that. It's going to wear how it wears. This one is actually the most worn one of the bunch so far. This one I'm still working on. His, you can see he's kind of figuring out his own weirdness on it. These sleeves here are a lot slicker than mine for some reason. I don't know. He does wear this to work sometimes. And also the light color tends to pick up a lot of stuff. But this one he's only had for probably 2 months or so. You can kind of see the different patterns on it. Now the stuff that really convinced me to stick with the Ronin is just its livability. I love that I can have a motorcycle jacket that I can get off the bike, I can walk into class, I can sit down, I can go to work, whatever. I can hang out, it's going to look good no matter what. That's fantastic. It also matters to me that I can actually just live in it without having a bike. That I can just throw it on in the morning, jump in my car if it's especially cold. Awesome to use. The things that I really love about them, and I'm using this light one because you can kind of see some of the details here easier. Compared to a lot of bike jackets, you have a lot of options here. And the thing that I love about RSD is they're really big into the cafe racer thing. That's all the rage right now. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. I do have reservations about how stylish this will be for the next couple decades. This thing I'm hoping will wear in really cool and look awesome. This is a good design, I think. But then again, I'm a young guy and, you know, my opinion is pretty much worthless. So hopefully it doesn't like look ridiculous like some of those 80s Vetter jackets do, although I still think those are pretty cool. I love the old 80s, 90s bikes. I would love to get like a CBR 1000F Hurricane. Love those. I also love the ZXR 600. Any of the freaking, you know, 750cc. I'm always looking on Craigslist and trying to convince myself I can somehow afford another bike. It's a sickness, I swear. The pocket's awesome. This one's awesome. I love throwing like chapstick and emergency gum in here. Just those little tiny things you always need. I just love having it close at hand. It's just right there. You can always... It sounds really dumb. Hey, cool, I still have stuff in here. So here's a stick of gum, because I sat next to that hot girl in anatomy today. Yep, and there's that. That's also one of my favorite chapsticks. You can just kind of throw one in all of them and run off, and I always have an emergency supply. Really awesome, love it. And it's, I think, included on their other ones too. I think like the Barfly, that's their newer one. They kind of get rid of some of this more ornate stuff. You just miss out on the chest pocket, I think, with it. It's more of like a traditional leather jacket thing. For 480 bucks, still super expensive. They don't come with any armor or any of that, and you have to put it in. I'll talk about armor here in a sec. It's expensive. It hasn't really gotten to the used market yet, so it wasn't really in my run-up. I love these. I'm hoping they'll kind of hold their value so I can, you know, dump them if I end up not liking them. Now, the stuff that really separates it from the pack, while, yeah, it's great, it has pockets, it looks awesome, I've really just been blown away by how utilitarian this whole thing is. One thing that Roland Sands does perfectly is they add these bungee pockets in like every jacket I've seen of theirs. They're fantastic. These are one of those things you don't really appreciate till you actually start living with them, and then you find out that you can really put anything in there at a moment's notice. You know, you're getting out, you're doing some shopping, you have your wallet or something, you just toss it into your little basket bungee pocket. It's there. It can fit hats and stuff. They talk about those in all the magazines and catalogs. Oh, you can fit a hat in it when you're going riding. You can fit anything in it. It's not so much concealed carry pocket. I wouldn't go that far. I've done it before. I think it would stretch this thing out. If you look at mine, I actually have this General Grievous thing going on where I have, there's one of our SR1 Lion Steels, my high-end carry one. I ended up finding one that he didn't notice was in his drawer. I just kept it, so don't tell him about that. There's my Stylus Pro. Here's a tissue, because for some reason I keep sneezing today. There's like a memory card in there. Really, really convenient. I love it. You can put so much in there. As I said, concealed carry not really happening as much. It's kind of a weird belly carry, and it doesn't have a good way of anchoring itself. I've tried to figure out a way of maybe throwing it on a holster. It just doesn't work. You kind of have to stick with waist carry or something else. You have your standard wallet, kind of funky ID credential pocket. I never really use those. That's just a personal thing. I always forget I have stuff in there. I found like a 20 in here yesterday, and I was pretty jazzed about that. Other than that, you have the standard little pockets here. I think they could stand to be a bit bigger, but I don't know. My hand is like, I don't know. I know this is like 7.5 inches or something like that. I have really weird hands, so they're probably normally sized for most humans. For me, they're a bit small. I would like something bigger. One thing that they did really kind of miss is they do good zippers on them. They're the standard YKKs. They have these really cool little zipper pulls. They aren't locking though. And that's something that they kind of missed out on, because the good ones, they'll kind of stay in position. I know Alpine Stars does those with a lot of them. You know, you flip it up, it'll stay up. You flip it forward, it's going to stay in that position, not dangle around. This, that gets kind of irritating, especially when you use it as a life jacket where you're just walking around, especially like, I don't know, if you go somewhere where you're typing or you're kind of moving your hands across a desk, you're writing. That kind of gets old. You're always kind of like opening it up, trying to find a good position where it's not in your way. A locking zipper would have been freaking awesome. It would have just been perfect. And I'm kind of thinking at $600 for a jacket, I have a right to bitch if something's not perfect on it. Besides that, you have all the great pockets, all the great storage. Let's talk about armor real quick. As a biking jacket, to me personally, I think this ranks somewhere between a textile riding jacket like an A-Stars TGPR, which is freaking awesome looking, or maybe some of your lighter leathers. I don't really have a good example of those. It's not so much a textile jacket or a race jacket, it's somewhere in between. You have these stitches. I'm not sure how they've done them. I'm not sure about this thread quality. As you can see on this one, it does kind of fray out and it's kind of having some wear. Only a year old, that's standard. Most of the old jackets I have are almost completely worn through here, and if you look, you can see how well that lining's held up. Not super well, that's kind of how they normally are. This is actually from, I'm kind of leaving a blank there so you can think about it for a sec, Velcro. If you're wearing Velcro biking gloves, they'll kind of rip away at that over time. Really hard to avoid. I just see these little threads coming out, and I wonder, I don't think they did like a full-on biker thread, whatever that could be. I doubt they use like aramid infused things, but it'd be nice to not see some loose threads on a super expensive jacket that I'm kind of trusting my life to in a lot of cases. This whole segmented thing, a lot of guys have been kind of leery of it. To me, it's not as big a deal. If you look, even on the elbow, it's there, so that's not as safe. I'm not comfortable with it, but to me, a guy who rides around in a textile jacket for a fair amount of the year, I don't really have much room to complain because I would assume as long as these panels hold up, you're still being protected by leather. It feels like it's fairly thick. It's not like race quality. It's not something I would really go sport riding in necessarily. I have other ones that I've also picked up used for fairly cheap that I've used instead of those. So this is more of an all-around kind of a commuter jacket. It's really your body and your level of, you know, safety that you're looking for in that. If you're comfortable with it, freaking rock on. Do whatever the hell you want to. It's your body. I don't care. So armor-wise, it kind of has a funky system. Funky in that, yes, it has the normal panels that you can jam stuff into. If you look right there, it's a standard pocket. You have a pocket here. You have a zip pocket for a back pad, and then you have elbow ones. Funky in that, yes, it has them, but weird in that it doesn't really fit. I can't figure it out. In this one, I have the forcefield armor. As you can see here, I'll just go ahead and throw it on. I like the forcefield stuff. It's awesome, it's great, it's quality, blah, blah. But it doesn't really work in this, and I can't figure out why. I've tried to do it a couple times where I wonder if the pockets are oriented wrong. I don't know if it's the size of them. For these ones, I went with the RSD pocket size, or the pad size in large, so it should fit these. I thought I sized it out correctly. And so I have the shoulder ones in here. What am I jamming into my back? This one does have the shoulder and the elbow armor in. These are the RSD forcefield ones that they designed for them. So if you take a look here, this is actually where the pad starts. That's fine. I personally prefer pads that go like all the way up here, track style, where it's just a big old forearm taco. Because I think if I'm landed on those, I just want everything as protected as possible. For a casual, normal biking jacket, you're not going to get that. You just kind of take what you can get. But this one, it goes from here, and it's segmented, and it goes all the way up to back here. So this entire area right now, that's pretty well protected. It's also tight, and I can't figure out why. Every RSD jacket I've had is like that, and it's not like I'm really working with some pythons here, but still, I'm not very proud of it. Now, if you look at this stitch, and I'll go ahead and put in some footage of it, that doesn't really inspire confidence. I don't like seeing that in a jacket that's 600 bucks that I may have to trust my life to in a crash. This whole thing, and you can kind of say, oh, well, it's sizing and you need something smaller. I still can't really figure it out. I think it's made for like little skinny dudes, and I'm not sure what my biceps are. I'm not really caring enough to measure them. But that's not making me very comfortable, and I'm not thinking that's a safety stitch there. So I'm gonna have to watch out for that. So this one does go from about here to here. Right now it's fitting really well. Yesterday, for some reason, the elbow pad was like all the way up here in the back of my arm, and I couldn't figure out how to pull it down. I like had to pull the jacket out and kind of rearrange it. Not really sure what that issue is. The shoulder ones do fit pretty well. They're just the normal, you know, RSD kind of kit ones that come with the forearm pads. They're great, they're force field. As you can tell, it doesn't really stick out that much compared to the other ones. Pretty low key, I like that. Safety issues aside, you can put a, you know, safety issues aside, you can put a normal back pad into it. As you see here, it is kind of a funky shape. Not totally funky. I tend to prefer these ones. These are my favorite just because they're cheap. The Alpine Bio Armor, I think they are. They're like 20 bucks for one of these. This is a medium, does not fit at all. These are too short. You need kind of that special one. Also, I have the Bio Armor over here, the Air, that version. Also does not fit. So for me, I usually run the external ones with the head air. It's a great little pocket, and you do kind of give up that length on it just to get this down here. Kind of a trade-off. It's just an aesthetic thing. Other than that, it's pretty awesome. I mean, I don't totally trust that seam, especially after seeing that. I mean, check that out. That is really bad. So that's it. That's about a year and a half's worth of experience in the Roland Sands Ronin boiled down into whatever I end up cutting this into. I love it. It's a fantastic jacket if you're talking about a jacket. If you're going off of, I want a nice leather jacket that I can wear around, it's going to look great, it's going to age well, I want something that's quality, just sumptuous leather, rock on. Perfect jacket for that. As far as a biking jacket, I do have reservations. I want to so badly just to trust it with my life. Seeing this stitch itself, that one really is freaking me out. I don't like the idea of having to trust my life to something that looks like that. I'm going to see if there's some way to fix it. If not, I'll probably go in and just start throwing some canvas thread on it myself like I've done to some of my other ones. They're kind of Frankenstein at this point anyways. We'll see what I can do about that. It's your choice though. If you're comfortable with rocking leather like that and you think that it'll protect you just fine to crash, rock on. I am kind of conservative because if I crash, I don't really want to occupy that weird space between being totally fine and dead, because in there you always have lingering stuff. I've already had one little minor get off. I'm probably not ever going to do a video on that because it's such a pussy like accident. It was just a, you know, small high side. I probably wasn't even doing like a full 30 miles an hour. Just dumb. So stuff like that, I don't know. I'd rather just be able to walk away and just walk forever. I'm still kind of limping here and there because of that one. My leg is just, I don't know what's up with it. I kind of smashed my shin in. I was wearing Cortec Latigo boots and I wasn't blousing my pants under them. I just had them over. So it had that track thing and I was, you know, I had like that gap and it has that front armor and so it just kind of smacked into my shin. I wonder if it just crushed a muscle or something because it's months later and I'm still hurting. Usually only when I do like a big run the night before, then I wake up and I'm kind of like lopsided the rest of the day. Anyways, that's the Roland Sands Ronin. Great jacket, awesome jacket. You can do all kinds of great stuff with it. Decide whether or not you want it. I'll show you a couple more in the collection. I probably only have like 1 or 2 other jackets on me right now. So that's the Roland Sands Design Ronin jacket, 2014. Put a lot of miles on it, put a lot of wear on it. I like it, it's great. If I had to rate it out of 10, I would probably give it a 7 or 8, depending on the price you get it for. If you can get it as cheap as possible, then rock on, give it an 8. If you consider it as a safety motorcycle garment, I would probably give it about a 5 or a 6. There are other like more textile things that I think will better protect you for a lot less money. If you're getting it as just a kick-ass jacket, rock on, it's awesome. I think this will have a lot more character than something you get like a Filson, because a lot of those other brands, they're kind of mired in the past and that they just keep making the same old bomber jacket year after year. There are a lot of great ones. I would love to grab some Filsons and more shots and all that and show you. But as a great do-it-all jacket, all kinds of pockets, awesome. For those of you that just stumbled on my channel, I'm TacticalDoodle, I'm part of TNP. You may see our other channel, Nut and Fancy. That's the big one. I'm kind of a spin-off from that. I handle some of the funkier gear stuff. You know, knives, guns, bags, in this case jackets. I'll do the sundry stuff, so feel free to subscribe if you want to. Thanks for hanging out. That's it. Thanks for watching.